Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the logical reasoning syllogism portion where which we are discussing about the important aspects of syllogism. The images used in our slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and the owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in the deck and have any concern or issues, please contact us at sathee@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. So students, as you all remember that we have studied the important aspects of syllogism in our previous lecture series, and we have discussed about what exactly is the meaning of syllogism, what are the concepts, what are the different types of syllogism that are there. Then we have already talked about the tips that has to be kept in mind, जो आपको अपने दिमाग में रखनी है जब भी आप कोई भी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जामिनिज्म में सिलोगिज्म को सॉल्व करने जाएं। तो जो सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट होता है सिलोगिज्म का, वो आइडेंटिफाई करना होता है कि ये कौन सा टाइप है सिलोगिज्म का जो सामने आपके क्वेश्चन के फॉर्म में आया है। अगर हम लोग इजीली ग्रास्प कर सकें कि सिलोगिज्म इस पर्टिकुलर टाइप का है, तो ये काफी इजी हो जाता है उस पर्टिकुलर सिलोगिज्म को, उस पर्टिकुलर इन्फेरेंस को, उसके प्रेमाइस को या उसके स्टेटमेंट को समझना और उसके बेसिस पे कंक्लूजन पे पहुंचना। जैसे हम लोगों ने अपनी प्रीवियस लेक्चर में डिस्कस किया था कि देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ सिलोगिज्म, जिसमें हम लोग कैटेगोरिकल सिलोगिज्म से लेके स्टैटिस्टिकल सिलोगिज्म के बारे में बात करी। वी हैव अंडरस्टूड that there are different types of syllogism, and all the types has been clearly discussed in the previous lecture. Not only we have discussed the types, but we have also tried to understand that how we can differentiate between the different types of syllogism. The use of if, then, either, or, no, all, some helps us in distinguishing that what type of syllogism we are talking about. So now, without wasting any other time, let's continue with this chapter with the syllabus of syllogism. In our previous lecture, we were discussing about the question 1 that was put forward, and that is whether the conclusions which has been derived from the statements that has been put forward have logically the relation is correct or not. So हम लोगों को ये पूछा गया था क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 में कि एक कुछ स्टेटमेंट्स दिए गए हैं, इन स्टेटमेंट्स के बेसिस पे आपको कंक्लूजन सामने रखा गया, तो क्या ये कंक्लूजन डायरेक्टली लॉजिकली मैच कर रहा है स्टेटमेंट से कि नहीं, ये हमारा प्रश्न था जो क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 में हमसे पूछा गया. सो फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट वाज that no fingers are legs, mostly legs are hands, and only few hands are hairs. और उसी के बेसिस पे जो सबसे पहला कंक्लूजन डिराइव करा था वो करा था कि some legs are not hairs and all hands being finger is a possibility. So ये दोनों इन्फेरेंसेस जब हम लोगों ने वेन डायग्राम के थ्रू देखे, समझे और सॉल्यूशन को डिस्कस करा, so at that point of time we were able to come to the conclusion, we were able to figure out that whether this conclusion is logically following the statement or not. And what was our answer, guys? What was our answer for this question? The answer was neither conclusion 1 nor conclusion 2 follows. Why is it so? We have already discussed it. Why is it so? Because once we draw the Venn diagram, the Venn diagram would look like this. This is a finger, this is the hand, this is the whole hand, then this is the leg, and this is the hair. So here what we are observing is that there is no direct linkage between hair and fingers and legs. There is some linkage between legs and hands. The point that was put forward was, the statement that was put forward was no legs, no fingers are legs. So this is fingers, and this is legs. So there is no fingers or legs. The second point was that mostly legs are hands. So mostly legs are hands. Here again, I would like to correct it. Last video also we corrected it. So let's assume it like this, because there can be at least one leg which will not be a hand. Mostly legs are hand. In the second statement, what we figure out that mostly legs are hand. When we say mostly, it means that 99.99% there are chances that legs are hands. We can assume more because the word mostly is used, but there are chances that at least one will not be hand, because there is a portion which is coming out. अगर ये चीज इंस्टेड ऑफ मोस्टली लेग्स आर हैंड्स की जगह ये लिखा होता ऑल लेग्स आर हैंड्स, अगर यहाँ पे ऑल लेग्स आर हैंड्स लिखा होता, तो दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम द सर्किल would have been within the circle of the hand. अभी बोला गया है मोस्टली, तो मतलब कि थोड़ा सा पोर्शन, a little bit of portion of the legs of the leg will be out of the Venn diagram of the circle which is representing the hands. तो इसलिए the diagram will showcase in such a manner where which legs and hands are, the legs are occupying almost the whole of the hands areas, but certain portion of the circle of the leg is outside the circle of the hands, which showcases that mostly legs are hands, but not all legs are hands. Okay. And then obviously the third statement was that only a few hands are hairs. So few hands are hairs. So this can be like this also. And what we can assume is that instead of this, the majority of this circle would have been outside. So this circle would have been outside the scope of hand, because it is saying that only a few hands are hairs. Only a few hands are hairs. So it will be mostly out. The circle which is showcasing it is obviously correct. But if we talk about the correct representation, then obviously a little bit of this portion of the hands, of the legs should have been outside, and this hairs should have been more outside. So instead of this, it should have been more like this. Okay, so this should be the portion where which we will see that only few portion of the hairs are hands and mostly legs are hands, and there is no link between no fingers are legs. This is what our questions are. This is what our statements are, right? So from these statements, what we have derived is that the first conclusion was some legs are not hairs. So some legs are not hairs. That is something which we cannot derive because there is no linkage. Some legs are not hairs. We cannot say. If this had been overlapping, then we would have said that. Now the second conclusion was all hand being fingers is a possibility. Now all hands being fingers. Now the question is, there is no linkage. There can be a chance that the fingers could have been like this also with the hand, but there is no direct inference that we are getting from the statements that has been provided. The only few hairs are hands, so there is no linkage. Only a few hands are hairs. Hands are hairs. So there is a link between hands and hairs. There is a link between legs and hands. There is no link between legs and fingers. Okay. And as you remember, when we were discussing about the tips, all we have to ensure is that we are sticking to the statements. Now, the students should not assume, आप लोगों को assume नहीं करना है बिल्कुल भी कि all hands being finger is a possibility. तो इसका मतलब कि क्या fingers और hands के बीच में भी एक relation तो हो सकता है. Can't it be like this? Can't it be like this? Is it also possible or not? Yes. But we are not assuming, because there we are assuming that this can be the possibility, but we don't have to assume. We have to just stick to the statement that has been provided. So according to the statements, the leg and finger has no relation. Legs and hands have relation. Hands and here have relations. Okay, but not apart from these three statements, there is nothing that you can figure out. Okay, so that is why the answer will be neither conclusion 1 nor conclusion 2 follows. I suppose आप लोगों को ये क्वेश्चन याद हो और आप लोगों ने समझा हो अच्छी तरीके से. You would have made it would have help you in understanding that how we have to solve syllogism while keeping in our mind the important tips that has been provided in this lecture series. These tips are going to be very handy to you all, guys. I'll tell you. क्या होता है कि when you're solving questions, students obviously they get confused because there is a lot of possibility. If you start assuming it, there can be a lot of possibilities. Fingers and ये भी chances थे कि the fingers would have been there inside here. It could have been like this also. It could have been like this also, or maybe like this also. But we are not taking into consideration these type of diagram because here we are assuming the things. We have to just see through it that what exactly the statements are, and then after drawing this we can come to the conclusion. So अब आपको approach कैसे करना है? How do you have to approach towards the questions that will be put forward in front of you? First and foremost, जो बच्चों को करना होता है generally when you get the question is to try to draw the Venn diagram according to the statements that has been provided to you. So the first statement that was provided to you was that no fingers are legs. तो हमने क्या काम करा? हमने एक फिंगर का सर्कल बनाया, उसके बाद हमने एक लेग का सर्कल बनाया. Okay, so it is showing that no fingers are legs. Okay, this diagram has been completed. Now second statement, mostly legs are hands. So हमने बोला mostly legs are hands, तो हमने legs के majority of the circle को encompass करते हुए एक hand का बनाया, जिसमें बताया कि जो hand है उसके अंदर legs पूरे समाये हुए हैं, बस थोड़ा सा portion of the legs का that is outside, because it is saying mostly legs are hands. Now third inference आया, वो ये आया कि only a few hands are hairs. Now only a few hands are hairs, तो इसमें उसने ये बात बोली कि hands और hairs में थोड़ा सा linkage है, so that is why there has been an intersection. Now question again आपसे अगर ये बोलता है कि सर क्या hairs और legs के बीच में कोई भी relation आपको दिख रहा है, क्योंकि इन statements में नहीं लिखा हुआ, और अगर ये statement में ये चीज mention होती the some legs which are hands are also hairs, then we would have made a circle like this. If the statement provides such disclosures. If the statement is not providing such disclosures, we are not supposed to assume by ourselves. So please, students, please keep this thing in mind, that whenever you are making a syllogism, only the statements that has been provided, we need to stick to it, not the conclusion. You need not see the conclusion at all. First and foremost, after reading the statement, just try to draw the Venn diagram. Once you have drawn the Venn diagram, then go to the conclusion, see what first conclusion is saying, and then just verify it through the Venn diagram whether the conclusion which is being inferred through that particular statement is true or not. So this is perhaps very important for you to understand that assumption should not be there. Every question might encourage you, might force you to assume just to get an answer which is much more suitable according to you. Okay, so you have 5 options. So this conclusion 1 follows, conclusion 2 follows, either conclusion 1 or conclusion 2 follows, or neither conclusion 1 or conclusion 2 follows. So or both conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 follows. This type of options would be there in front of you. So just because you feel that okay, this can be the answer, you will be encouraged to draw the Venn diagram according to the answer which you want. So you don't have to get swayed by what your inner mind is saying. First you have to just you have to clear your concept, and based on the concept you have to draw the Venn diagram, only referring to the statements, not the conclusion. Only refer to the statements. Once you have referred to the statements and you have drawn the Venn diagram, then try to figure out that, and yes, please make sure that you are cross verifying it again, that the Venn diagram that you have drawn is actually correct. because sometimes what happens is that student draw a Venn diagram in haste, और फिर जब वो जल्दीबाजी में उस डायग्राम को बना लेते हैं, फिर बाद में उन्हें रियलाइज होता है कि डायग्राम तो गलत था, डायग्राम ऐसे नहीं बनना चाहिए था, और उसकी वजह से उन्होंने आंसर गलत मार्क कर लिया होता है. सो इट बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू ड्रॉ द वेन डायग्राम ओनली बेस्ड ऑन द स्टेटमेंट्स एंड क्रॉस वेरीफाई इट अगेन दैट वट एवर द वेन डायग्राम इज सेइंग शुड बी रिप्रेजेंटेड in the statement also. You remember that when we were studying about the tips, there was one tip which was talking about if you have confusion, then reverse syllogism should also be there, that from the conclusion you are coming up to the statements. So this can also be done. So this is the conclusion according to us, the Venn diagram, and through this we are trying to figure out what the statements can be. Okay, so after verifying if everything is good to go to the conclusion, check with the Venn diagram if the statements which has been given can be understood to be true or not. If you feel like okay, one conclusion is true, then it's fine. If conclusion 2 is also true, then also it's fine. If both is wrong, obviously you have the option. If either of them is correct, also you have the option. Okay, so here my point is to make you people understand that what are the things, what are the do's and don'ts you have to do or not to do whenever you are solving syllogism. Okay guys, so we will be moving forward and we will be discussing our next course of questions so that आप लोगों की प्रैक्टिस होती रहे और आप लोगों को समझ में आए कि किस पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में हमें किस तरीके का आंसर को अप्रोच करना चाहिए. Okay, so this already we have studied. Conclusion 1, some legs are not hairs. This is not necessarily true. A leg circle is mostly within the hand circle, and we cannot determine if any part of the leg is not overlapping with the hair because there is no linkage between them. Conclusion 2, all hands are being is a possibility. This is not possible because the finger circle does not overlap with the leg circle, and some hands which contain legs would not fit in the fingers circle. Okay, so since there is no linkage, at such, so that particular statement is not true. Okay, now in the same manner we have solved the previous question. Now we are again going to solve the question number 2. So question number 2, the same statement will be there, that in this question below there are 3 statements followed by conclusions 1 and 2. You have to take the 3 given statements to be true even if they are be at variance from commonly known facts, and then decide which of the given logical follows from the 4 statements disregarding common known facts. So now the first is the only few rides are trips. No trip is mountain and all mountains are trees. So how the diagram would be? I'm giving you 1 minute time so that you people can try to draw the Venn diagram, and then eventually we will discuss the answer, so that it becomes clearer for you. So now don't see the conclusion. Don't see the conclusion. Some trees are not trips, and don't see that. But first draw the Venn diagram over these 3 conclusions. How the Venn diagram would look like, I'm giving you 10 seconds more to just draw the Venn diagram over a rough copy so that you can verify it whether the diagram that you have drawn is fine or not. And if you have drawn it correctly, then it's good. But if you have not drawn it, then also you need not worry, because slowly and gradually, this is the main context of preparing this video sessions, that once the students will understand the concept and they will practice, they will eventually be accustomed as to how to solve the questions, and their efficiency will obviously improve. So don't take it to your heart if you are not able to solve the questions. Be positive. Try to solve another question again and again, because you remember, try and you will eventually succeed one day. So taking that thing into consideration, let's try to solve this question out. The first statement is only a few rides are trips. Few rides are trips. Okay, so this will be something like this. This is rides are trips. So only a certain portion of that will be there. Only a few rides are trips. No trip is a mountain. So if this is rides and this is trips, so there is no linkage between mountain and trips and rides. Okay, so trips and mountains, we have no linkage. Then all mountains are trees. Then all mountains are all mountains are trees. the diagram would be looking like this. So I'm just assuming, maybe, may not be. So let's try to understand that how that diagram actually looks like. So see, almost like the same which I have drawn, but you might be getting confused that in your diagram it was showing there was a lot of difference, but because since this has been drawn through computer, so that is why. But let's try to understand it again. Okay, let's try to understand it again. The how, just ignore this portion. Let's try to understand. The first point here is only few rides are trips. So rides and trips, there is only a few portion which are rides and which are also trips. And then the another portion is no trip is a mountain. So there is no link between trips and mountain. No link between trips and mountain. And then all mountain are trees. So there is trees, then there is mountain. Mountain within the within the trees, it is mountain. Now, the second conclusion is some trees are not trips. So some trees are not trips. Is there any linkage between trips and mountains? Oh, sorry, trips and trees. Answer me correctly, guys. Is there any link? Now you have to open up your mind. You have to understand the things here. Is there any link between trips and trees? The answer would be no. We cannot see any inference. But what we have to see here is again the conclusion, which is some trees are not trips. So if you're talking about the trees, those trees which are mountain, because why? What the statement was, the third statement was all trees are mountains. So there are some trees which are mountains. Is it true? Yes or not? Yes, this is true, because all mountains are trees. If we have remember that when we say all mountains are trees, it by himself means that some of the trees which are mountains, there are some of the trees which are mountains. Okay, so some trees are mountains. Now there is a link between trips and mountains, that is no trip is mountain, that there is no trip which is a mountain. So what we can understand from this particular Venn diagram, that some mountains, the mountains, because we have studied that all the mountains are trees, correct? So all those trees which is mountain, I'm repeating it again because yes, sometimes it might get confused because the words are has been assumed, so logical explanation is not there. But taking that thing into consideration, that some of the trees which are mountain, and there is no link between mountains and trips. There is no link between mountains and trips because that has been mentioned. No trip is mountain. Okay. So can we say that those trees which are mountains, are not trips? Is it correct or not? Because there is a link between trips and mountains. Yes, there is that link is that there is no trip in its mountain. So there is no intersection between the circles of the trips and the mountains. In the same manner, those trees which are mountain will have no interaction with the circle of the trip. So if there is no interaction with the circle of the trips, then we can say that some trees are not trips. Is it true? Or not? Yes. So the first conclusion is correct. Some trees are not trips. Correct, because trees which are mountains are obviously not trips. And the second one is all rides being trips is not a possibility. All rides being trips all rights being trips. So we are talking about those some trips which are rights, okay? Because all rights being trips is not a possibility. So is the rights वाला portion, जो आपका ये right वाला circle है, क्या ये पूरा का पूरा ट्रिप के अंदर आ रहा है? No. So the statement is saying all rights being trips, जो सारी की सारी राइड्स हैं वो ट्रिप्स हैं, ये पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है. So this is also true because some of the rights are trips. Not all rights are trips, only some of the rights are trips. So इसमें मेंशन है ना, only a few rights are trips. यहाँ पे वो क्या कह रहा है आपसे, all rights being trips is not a possibility. तो some है तो all नहीं हो सकता है, प्लीज याद रखिएगा. all है तो some हो सकता है, ये भी याद रखिएगा. ठीक है, यहाँ पे दोनों चीजों का इस्तेमाल हुआ. all माउंटेन्स आर ट्रीज. हमने जब बोला ऑल माउंटेन्स आर ट्रीज तो हमने क्या देखा, व्हाट वाज आवर इन्फेरेंस दैट ऑल माउंटेन्स आर ट्रीज मींस द माउंट ऑल माउंटेन्स this is mountain, okay? So all mountains is within the circle of trees, correct? So all the characteristic the trees will have will also be there in the mountain, correct? So there can be another inference that some trees are mountains, correct? Not all trees, but some trees are mountains, and all mountains and trees, that is also true. So the question was, some trees are not trips, which is true because there is no relation between trips and mountains, and neither there is a relation between trips and trees. So all trees are not trips can be converted into some trees are not trips, correct? So further conclusion follows. And the second one is all rights being trips is not a possibility. Since the first statement says only a few rights are trips, so all rights can be off trips is not a possibility is obviously correct. So both the statement conclusion number 1 and conclusion number 2 seems to be correct from my side. Let's see the answer. Yes, the answer is answer D. Let's see what the answer D is saying. Answer D is saying both conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 follows. So I suppose you have understood कि जो questions होते हैं how they have to be understood, how the Venn diagram has to be understood. After drawing the Venn diagram, 60% of your work is complete, because if you are able to draw the correct Venn diagram, then all you have to do is you have to read the conclusion, try to analyze that whether that particular statement can be made true or not, and then eventually we can move forward. Okay, I suppose you have understood the question. If you have any problem or any doubts whatsoever in understanding that these problems, how to solve and how there are, how to figure out how to draw the Venn diagram, so I would suggest you that you start taking questions which are very simple, which have statements only of from categorical syllogism, which is talking about all, some, or no. After you have mastered the syllogism which is of only one particular type, then move on to a combination of different types of syllogism, and then try to solve out those questions. So if you will do it, you will first get mastery over how to draw the Venn diagram. Once you are able to draw the Venn diagram, then you can proceed further and you can try to derive out the solutions from the same. Okay, some trees are not trips. That is true because all mountains are trees, and since no trips are mountains, some trees those are mountains are not trips. That already discussed. All rides being trip is not a possibility. That's also true because only a few rides are trips, indicating that not all rides can be trip. Both logically true follows. Okay, this will be the answer. Now, another question. Question 3. That question has to be answered from the student's side. So what I would request you is that you try to figure out the answers. Obviously, we are going to discuss the answers of this. But first, I would request you, I am giving you 30 seconds time to just draw the Venn diagram. Once you have drawn the Venn diagram, then when I will showcase you the picture, try to understand whether the diagrams which you have drawn is correct or not. And then we'll move forward with the statements. So the first statement is, mostly pets are cats. So pets, this can be a circle for a pet. This can be circle for a cat. Mostly pets are cats, but mostly means that 90% of the 99.99% of the pets are cats, but it is not 100%. Okay, it's not saying all. Okay. Now the another point is only cats are dogs. Only cats are dogs. Okay. It means that only cats. Pets are cats. This is cats. So there is a linkage between here, between pets and cats. And then there is saying only cats are dogs. So cats are dogs. So it can be drawn like this also. Okay. So only cats are dogs. Only dogs are cats. That is not inferred from here. Only cats are dogs. And it is saying that no cat is a rabbit. So obviously this is a rabbit. Like this. So I suppose you people also have drawn the diagram. So we will just move forward and we will try to figure out that how the Venn diagram would look like. Okay. So this is the Venn diagram. Let's understand. It is saying most pets are cats. So this is mostly pets are cats. So this is mostly pets. This is mostly pets are cats. Okay. Mostly pets are cats. Pets are cats. Okay. This can be a diagram. Only cats are dogs. So the dogs are inside the circle. No cat is a rabbit. Okay. So no cat. This is pets, which is inside the cats, because mostly pets are cats. The diagram which showcases this, it is showcasing that majority of the portion. Okay. Now the another question is only cats are dogs. Only cats are dogs. Okay. This means that the set dogs is entirely contained within the set cats. There is nothing else that can be dog. Only cats are dogs. Means the dog will be smaller and cats will be bigger. Why? Because only cats are dogs. So dogs will be smaller. Dogs के अंदर, cats के अंदर circle में dogs आ जाएंगे. Then the third one is no cats are rabbits. Third one says no cats are rabbits, which means there is no relation between cats and rabbits. Okay. This is the diagram, how the diagram would look like. The first is mostly pets are cats. So this is pets, which are saying are cats. If you take the diagram in a much stricter manner, there should have been some portion, because it is saying mostly. So it should have been some portion of the pets which should have been outside the purview of the cats, because it is saying mostly cats, mostly pets are cats. It is not saying that all the pets are cats. Okay. So the diagram is a little bit, we need to improvise it, because the diagram is a little bit wrong here, and I would like to correct it again. The diagram should have been like this. It should have been a little bit of portion outside the outside the circle of cats, because it's saying mostly pets are cats. This suggests that the set pets is mostly contained within the set of cats. Okay. Only cats are dogs. Only cats. So whenever you find the word only, okay, whenever you find the word only, just reverse it. Okay. Or just reverse it, and it can be read out as all dogs are cats. Okay. Only cats are dogs. It can be inferred to all dogs are cats. Some cats are dogs. That is also true. And all dogs are cats. So this is what can be derived from when you say only. When you're saying only means only cats can be dogs. Pets cannot be dogs. Rabbits cannot be dogs. Only cats can be dogs. according to this diagram. And then the third one is no cats are rabbits. So there is no linkage between cats and rabbits. Now let's try to understand that some pets are rabbits. Is it true or not? Some pets are rabbits, no link at all. That is not true. Some pets are rabbits. That is not true. Then all pets being rabbits is not a possibility. The first statement, some pets are rabbits. Some pets are rabbits. Okay. Some pets are rabbits. And then all pets being rabbit is not a possibility. All pets being rabbit is not a possibility. So all pets being rabbits is not a possibility. So pets are within the cats, and there is no relation between cats and rabbits. So obviously there will be no relation between cats and rabbits. So the second conclusion, which says about all pets being rabbit is not a possibility, this statement is correct. Some pets are rabbits, which cannot be figured out, because obviously that is not being what is being represented to the Venn diagram. So answer would be answer D, which is talking about only conclusion 2 follows. What is conclusion 2? Conclusion 2 says that all pets being rabbit is not a possibility. Pets being rabbit is not a possibility. That is true. And the first was that some pets are rabbits. Some pets are rabbits that cannot be held possible. So the answer would be answer D, which is talking about only conclusion 2 follows. I suppose we have tried to understand the concept of syllogism, and the practice questions we have tried to understand that how the word all, mostly, only, no, some, probably, possibility are being used in order to confuse the mind of the reader. And that is perhaps the reason we have to be very much vigilant whenever we are drawing the Venn diagram. If the Venn diagram by mistake is drawn incorrectly, then there are high chances that the answer that we will get will be wrong. But if we draw the Venn diagram correctly, then there are high chances that we will get the result. Obviously, we will be able to finalize the answer in a correct manner. Now, only cats are dogs, that we have already understood. No cats are rabbits, that also we have understood. Mostly pets are cats. Mostly pets are cats. So even when we draw this diagram, mostly pets are cats and only cats are dogs. Only cats are dogs. In this particular question, you have to understand that if there would have been another assumption or a conclusion that whether some pets are dogs or not. Now, according to this Venn diagram, what we can observe is that yes, there are some dogs which can be pets. There are some dogs which can be pets. Okay, some dogs which can be pets. But here we need to understand, if the question says that there are some cats which are pets, which are dogs, then it would have been correct. We cannot directly say that some pets are dogs because both of them are within the cat circle. There might be some attributes which the cat has which have the dogs. There are some attributes which the pets might have which have the cats, but it is not true that all the things which has been there in the cat's circle will be there. So that is why the diagram leads a little bit of alterations and altercations, but most probably the answer that you have achieved through this Venn diagram is correct. Okay. So some pets are rabbits, that is not true, since most pets are cats and no cats are rabbits. Okay, it is possible that no pets are rabbits. Therefore, it is possible that no pets are rabbits. This is conclusion 4 does not follows. Now, second is all pets being rabbit is not a possibility. This is true because all pets were rabbits. If they then they would have also to be cats to satisfy the first statement, which contradicts the statement that no cats are rabbits. Therefore, only conclusion 2 follows. I suppose you people have understood the concept here. Now we will be moving towards the question number 4, but that we will continue in our upcoming videos because this we have already stretched it to a little bit more extent. And I suppose if you understood that this complicated questions are going to be helpful for the competitive examinations, because once you will solve it again and again, and we'll practice these questions on regular basis, the chances of you excelling in this examination is much more higher. With this, I would like to thank you all for being present in this lecture sessions, and I will again request you to kindly revise whatsoever we have studied so far. We will continue with the questions, the question which is including of various type of nomenclature, various type of syllogism that have been incorporated, so that once you go through these questions, you try to solve these questions, you are well versed at how you have to answer the questions when the competitive examinations will be there and the syllogism will be asked from you. Okay, so with this, I would like to thank you all for being present and listening to this video, and best of luck for your preparation of your examination. Let's meet in the other video, and we will try to understand the upcoming questions. Bye bye. Take care, guys.